You've decided you need to reinvent yourself. You are tired of feeling stuck. You know something needs to change. But here's your problem. Everyone keeps telling you to find your passion first. And either you have no idea what your passion is, or worse, you thought you found it and now you've lost it. So you're paralyzed. You can't move forward because you don't have clarity, and you can't get clarity without moving forward. Here's the truth. The advice to find your passion first is keeping you stuck, because clarity isn't the starting point of reinvention, it's the reward. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you the actual mechanics of reinvention, the system that works whether you know your passion or not. And by the end, you would know exactly where you are right now and the specific experiment you need to run to move forward. But first, we need to destroy the biggest lie about reinvention. Here's the lie. Get clear on what you want, then take action. This is what everyone tells you. Find your passion, discover your purpose, figure out your why. And if you don't know, you feel broken. Like something's wrong with you. Like everyone else got some sort of a manual for life and you missed the distribution there. Or maybe worse, you thought you found your passion. You committed. You told everyone that this is my thing. And now you're not enjoying it anymore. The spark is gone, so you feel trapped. Like you would be betraying yourself if you change course. I need you to understand something. This is not how reinvention actually works. The people telling you to find your passion first, they are remembering their story backwards. They found clarity through action. But when they tell their story, they flip the sequence. It sounds better to say, I always knew, than I stumbled around for 3 years testing different things. Let me show you the real sequence. The first sequence that you know that everyone is teaching is this. First, figure out your passion. Second, get clear on your purpose. Third, make a perfect plan. Then fourth, go ahead and execute the perfect plan. But here's the real sequence. First, you notice your curiosities. Second, you pick one to test. Third, you run a focused experiment. Fourth, you collect evidence. Then fifth, you let the data guide your decision. Notice the difference? Clarity comes after action, not before it. I didn't wake up one day knowing I wanted to be a software engineer. I noticed I was curious about coding. I tested that curiosity. The evidence I generated told me to keep going. For 6 years, I trained to become a pharmacist. I graduated top 5% of my class, got a job, and then I quit to become a software engineer. Not because I found my passion, because I ran an experiment that generated data and then data made the decision obvious. So if you're stuck right now, the problem isn't that you lack clarity. The problem is you're treating reinvention like a decision when it's actually an experiment. And I'm about to show you exactly how to run that experiment. But before we get to the mechanics, you need to understand what evidence you are actually collecting, because most people are tracking the wrong metrics entirely. And I'll show you at the end how to figure out exactly where you are right now with a free diagnostic tool I built. But first, let me show you what evidence actually looks like. When I was in pharmacy school, I had a secret life. During the day, I was studying pharmacology and things. At night, I was teaching myself to code. But here's what was interesting. I wasn't just learning, I was building. I built an e-library for pharmacy students. I built an ERP system for our students association. I built a pharmacy management application. And here's the critical part. I was collecting two types of evidence. Evidence type 1 is internal evidence. That's your energy. How does this work make me feel? Am I energized by it or am I drained? Does the time fly by when I'm doing it or does it drag? Am I excited to start or am I always procrastinating? This is your body's data. Your nervous system is giving you information about alignment. And most people ignore this. They think passion is supposed to be easy and fun all the time. No, high energy doesn't mean easy. It means engaged. Evidence type 2, external evidence. That's your traction. How is the world responding? Are people using what I built? And am I improving measurably? Is anyone paying attention to what I built at all, or is anyone willing to pay me for it? That is the market's data. The world is giving you information about viability, and most people only track this one. They think if they are making money, they should stay. Wrong. Both matter, and you need both. For coding, my internal evidence was high. I would stay up until 2 a.m. in the morning, building things and feeling energized, not exhausted. Time disappeared. I'd look up and suddenly it's 4 hours later. My external evidence was also high. People were using the product I was building. I sold a pharmacy management software, and I was also getting contracts to build websites. For pharmacy, internal evidence was missed at a point. I love the diagnostic thinking. I love figuring out what was wrong with the patient. But the day-to-day began to drain me. The bureaucracy, the repetition, the feeling that I was just managing problems instead of preventing them. External evidence was high. I was top of my class. I got the job. People respected what I was doing. My parents were proud. But that external validation was actually the trap. This is what I call the golden handcuffs. When something looks successful from the outside but kills you from the inside. And here's what nobody tells you. High external validation with low internal energy is not sustainable. You might push through for 5 years, 10 years, and even 20, but eventually you would burn out. You would resent the very thing you loved. You wake up at 40 wondering, where did my life go? So you need both high energy and high traction. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but how do I generate this evidence? I can't just quit my job and try random things. I have bills, I have responsibilities, I can't afford to experiment. Exactly. And that's where the system comes in. Let me show you how to design an experiment that fits your current life, even if you're working 60 hours a week. Here's the framework. It's 6 steps, but I'm going to focus on the first 3 because that's where I believe most of you are stuck in right now. So step 1 is curiosity, the starting point. Stop trying to find your passion and start by noticing your curiosities. And I mean really simple stuff, not life-changing revelations, just what makes you lean forward. Ask yourself, what topics do I read about even when I don't have to? Not for work, not for obligation, just because you are interested in them. What skills do you defend when others criticize them? When someone says X is a waste of time, what do you feel a quiet urge to push back on? What would I explore if failure didn't matter? Like if there was no social cost to trying and failing, what would you test? Write down 3 to 10 things. Don't filter, don't judge, don't ask if it's practical or if you can make money from it. Just notice what makes you lean forward. For me, it was, I wonder what it is like to build functional software that others would want to use. That's it. Not I want to be a software engineer. Just curiosity. Now, here's what most people do wrong at this stage. They either have no curiosities because they have been ignoring them for so long, or they have 10 curiosities and don't know which one to pick. If you have no curiosities, that's actually a signal. You're probably running on someone else's operating system. Your current identity was installed by your parents, your first job, society's expectations, and I've built a diagnostic tool that will show you exactly which identity you are running and why you feel stuck. I'll give you the link at the end. But if you have 10 curiosities, here's how to pick. Step 2, focus. That's the strategic constraint. You cannot test 10 curiosities at once, so you have to pick one. But here's the reframe that changes everything. You're not asking, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? You are asking, what do I want to test for the next 30 to 90 days? The stakes drop dramatically, so you need to turn your curiosity into a testable hypothesis. I'm curious if blank. I will test this by blank for blank days. Let me give you some examples. I'm curious if I would enjoy writing. So I will test this by writing 500 words per day for 30 days. Or I'm curious if I'm good at sales. I'll test this by making 50 outreach calls and tracking the conversion rate over 60 days. Notice, These are concrete, they are time bound and testable. For me, I'm curious if I can learn to code. I'll test this by building one small project for this semester while still in pharmacy school. So I didn't know if it would work, but I committed to generating data. How do you choose which curiosity to test? Ask yourself three questions. Which one makes me feel a spark when I imagine doing it? That's the energy test. Then which one has the lowest cost if it doesn't work out? That's the risk test. And which one will give me the fastest feedback? That's the speed test. Pick the one that scores highest across all three. Now, step 3, experiment. This is the evidence generator. This is where most people fail. They consume instead of create. So watching YouTube tutorials about coding is not an experiment. Building a functional app is the experiment. Reading about fitness is not an experiment. But working out 3 times a week for 90 days is an experiment. Taking a course on entrepreneurship is not an experiment. But selling something to 10 people is an experiment. You see the pattern? Consumption gives you theoretical knowledge. Creation gives you evidence. Your experiment needs 3 main components. One is a clear output. What tangible thing will you create? Not learn, create. 2 is a consistent cadence. How often will you show up? Daily is the best. 3 times a week minimum. The third one, a way to measure both types of evidence. So you have to track your energy and track the world's response. When I committed to coding, my output was one completed project for the semester. My cadence was code at least 30 minutes daily. My evidence tracking was a journal rating my energy 1 to 10 after each session and concrete metrics. Did the app work? Did anyone use it? Did I get it done? And here's what I learned. High energy doesn't mean easy. Sometimes I was stuck on a bug for 3 days, but I was engaged. I was curious. Time flew by. Low energy means drained, resentful, watching the clock, procrastinating. But after 90 days, I had undeniable data, high energy, high traction. The decision to continue became obvious. Now, here's what happens next. And this is the part that will determine whether you actually reinvent or stay stuck for another 5 years. After your experiment, you have 2 numbers. Your internal energy score, 1 to 10, and your external traction score, also 1 to 10. And those 2 numbers tell you exactly what to do next. If you have high energy and high traction, you commit. You found the right thing, scale the effort. This is your path. If you have high energy but low traction, you want to persevere. But change the experiment. You love the work, but maybe your approach just needs some adjustment. Don't abandon the domain. Try different method. Try different audience or try different formats. Here's a critical insight. High energy is rare. Most people never find work that genuinely energizes them. So if you have high energy but low traction, don't just give up on the domain. Just change how you are approaching it. If you have low energy but high traction, pivot strategically. Use your success to fund a move towards something that energizes you. If you have low energy and low traction, pivot immediately. That's total misalignment. So cut your losses. This data just saved you years. Return to curiosity and test something new. Personally, I ran multiple experiments before eventually settling for software engineering. I tried a news blog back in 2014. Low energy, low traction. So I ended up pivoting from that. I tried a motivational blog in 2016. In fact, I tried a health blog in 2020. And I actually did cloud computing as well in 2021. So I just had to make a decision based on how I felt and how the market also responded to it. But here's the thing nobody tells you about the committed phase. It still took me 2 years before I called myself a software engineer and got my first full-time job when I left pharmacy practice. Why? Because there's a difference between finding the right path and building proof that you belong on it. And that's what I want to leave with you. Let me give you the truth about reinvention that nobody wants to hear. You can't leap with hope. You have to build proof. When I left pharmacy, I didn't leave because I believe I could make it as an engineer. I left because I had already made money from software I built. I had already solved real problems for real people, and the evidence was undeniable. But even then, I spent a year in a software engineering bootcamp learning fundamentals, like data structures, algorithms. These were concepts I didn't even know existed despite coding for years. That bootcamp was hard. People dropped out, but I didn't because I had something they didn't have. Proof that I belonged. Every time I felt like an imposter, I looked at my portfolio, the apps I built, the people I've helped, the money I've made. The evidence killed the doubt. So here's what I want you to understand. Reinvention isn't about finding yourself. It's about building yourself through systematic experimentation. You don't need to know your passion. You don't need perfect clarity. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to notice what makes you curious. Pick one thing to test by running a 30 to 90-day experiment and collect the data, your energy plus your traction, and let the evidence guide your decision. And if the data says pivot, you didn't fail. You just eliminated one possibility and gain clarity about what doesn't fit. If the data says persevere, you're in the right domain. Just refine your approach. And if the data says commit, you found your path. Now build a proof. Your next identity is waiting on the other side of your next experiment. Not on the other side of clarity, not on the other side of passion, rather on the other side of evidence. So stop waiting, start testing. Now, before you run your first experiment, you need to know where you actually are right now. Because here's the problem. Most people don't even know which identity they are currently running. You think you're stuck because of your circumstances, but you're actually stuck because of the story you're telling yourself about those circumstances. So I built a free 15-minute diagnostic tool. It's called the Identity Audit. You answer a series of questions and it will show you exactly which identity you're currently operating from and the specific next steps you need to take to reinvent. It's completely free. The link is in the video description. Take it before you design your first experiment because you can't build a new identity until you understand the old one. And once you've taken the audit, write down 3 curiosities, just 3 things that make you lean forward. Don't judge them, don't filter them, just notice them because that list, that's your starting point. Not passion, not purpose, curiosity. The evidence will tell you the rest. Welcome to the lab.